Hello, good morning everybody. This is your host, The Cowboy. It is Saturday morning in Chicago, about 9 o'clock, and I'm doing the Bitcoin and Ethereum Elliott wave analysis for YouTube. Every couple of weeks we take a look at these wave counts. Now, I want to start by saying that we've done a video on YouTube for Bitcoin a couple of days ago where I basically went in detail and explained the reasoning behind this impulsive move in here and the unlikely scenario that this impulse finished here instead of back in here. So go ahead and take a look at that, because whatever you put at the end of this move, it's very, very important for the projection of the next counts that are readily available or that could be interpreted here. So go ahead and take a look at that one. I've explained the reasoning between my bullish arguments and the bearish arguments that I don't think that stand based on the formation that I have on here. So I must continue to say that I remain bullish on this market, and even though I am aware of the possibilities of a break lower, I don't think they have a lot of weight. So I'm just trying to be analytical, I'm just trying to be fair, and just through the eyes of the wave principle, look at the market in as clear as possible look to kind of give me the proper outlook to the future, right? So I wanted to take you really quickly and show you one more time where I'm at in my thinking. Where do I see the larger wave counts going? And then we'll dive down and take a look at the smaller time frames and see how those look. So this is my main primary count, this white count. But I'm thinking of a wave 1 back at the end of 2017 with a large second wave in a cycle, wave 2 in a WXY. Now there's a big discussion about where this wave 2 terminated. Did it do it here or did it do it back here? And depending on how you place that wave, the whole scenario from these lows to these highs here changes. So it allows you to have multiple interpretations if that's the case, even at the longer term scale. And I'll show them to you here in a second. So for me, I think that because this was such a large correction, it's better suited as being a second wave. I don't think it's a fourth, because if it would be a fourth wave, that means that this move out of here would be a 5. And based on the way this looks in here, it doesn't fit, the recipe. So let's go with the 1-2, 1-2 for now. And I'm seeing this move in here as a corrective pattern. I talked about it in the video a couple of days ago. I'm seeing this decline here as a corrective move. Then you go in a wave B to new highs. And that creates a flat scenario where wave C comes down and creates, at the moment, a running flat scenario. Wave B, it's above the origin of the wave A. Wave C does not terminate below the wave A. And this creates a flat scenario. So if this is done and completed, we should be heading higher in this larger third wave and achieve about $500,000 in Bitcoin in the next larger impulsive move to the upside. So this is my primary scenario. We have corrected in a wave to about 23% of this entire advance from these lows to these highs. We pulled back about 23. It's a little short for the second wave. And you're looking at the log scale. But it is something that's definitely, fits the second wave pullback. And that what usually tells you is that the third wave could be very, very strong. So I'm going to come back to this count and go over and take a look and dissect a little bit these moves and show you kind of what I'm thinking there. But for now, I'm going to jump over to the next one, which is my red count, which this one tells me that this is actually a fourth wave in here, and you're actually about to push higher in a fifth. Now, I don't think this is the proper, it doesn't fit as well as this being a fifth wave. Due to the sizes that I have in a wave 1 and in a wave 3, this wave 5th should have been a little bit smaller than wave 3. And even though, let's say that you're looking at about you know, maybe even, you know, $100,000 to finish a fifth wave, we actually have to stay below 400,000 for this to fit, you know, the rules and the guidelines, right? But it does seem to me like, just in terms of proportion, that this fifth wave should have terminated somewhere, you know, much sooner than that. So you look at this as a wave 1, as a wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and possibly maybe a very short fifth wave out of here, and then move lower. Now you can argue and say, fine, let's just take this fourth wave and move it back here, right? So you would take and say, fine, what if this fourth wave is here, and then you go in a 1, 2, 3, 4, then I'm running into the other scenario where, again, I have issues with counting this as a small 2 with a very large fourth wave in here, and then with the fifth, right? And that would basically terminate the pattern and move much lower. And I have a quick look at that in a second. So for right now, I'm going to still continue to consider this, but what I want you to draw your attention to is this move right back in here. Right? This is what's important at the moment. I don't think the longer term count is as important right now as it is what's going to happen here, because if this is a fourth wave triangle, you can still push higher in this fifth, right? So that still tells you that the next move is to the upside and maybe towards $100,000 to $200,000 in Bitcoin. So this fourth wave could take the shape of a finished flat correction, just like we've had before, right? If this is a 2, it can also be a 4. Which would fit the narrative right back in here. This would be a 1, 2, 3 terminated 4, and then you start to move higher in a fifth wave. But what this basically does, at least when I'm looking at the counts, it gives me, you know, more of a, I know all these counts in my mind in terms of presentation. I want to show them to you so you can kind of see what I mean, you know, but basically this is the red one that I'm watching for this to develop as a triangle. So now let's jump over to the next one here, and I'm going to come back to the candlestick and moving averages, which is this, right? Which is basically shows you it's pretty much the same as the red with a slight, you know, maybe difference in where you place the wave 1. But it basically shows you this being a fourth wave, and I call this my pin count, where you go in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you finish maybe a wave 1, right, at a smaller degree. If this was a wave 1 cycle and you want to finish it back in here, then you go in a 1. This becomes a short fifth wave. You go up towards, let's see what those levels would be, maybe 120, 150,000. And I'm just looking at the proportion between wave 5 and wave 1. You know, and there would be another wave 1 followed by another wave 2 decline. So this pattern still tells you, you know, that you're going to break to the upside. The next one here that I have is the yellow, which is the ultra bearish one. And this tells you that this was a completed, let's say, super cycle move up into those highs, and now you're selling off in this ABC move. So again, I don't think this one stands, just due to the fact that I don't have a proper proportion here to call this a fifth wave. The way this looks from these lows to these highs, and I've talked about it in that video, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I don't think this is what's happening. I think this is a corrective move, and we're going to break higher before we can say that maybe there is a larger correction coming, or we have enough reasons, we will. And once that happens, we'll have enough reasons to assume that and to start to look at the different counts. So basically, this is where I'm at in the longer term outlooks in Bitcoin, and we'll go ahead and dive into the second wave in here, see how it looks, and then we'll go on and take a look at this kind of smaller sequence in here. But before we do, I wanted to show you a couple of things. So this is my longer term Bitcoin candlestick formation, where I'm looking for this to continue to follow this trend line to the upside. Continues to look very, very bullish with just a small, this is a quarterly chart. We're going to finish this at the end of this month. So another, 4 or 5 days to go. And basically we've been consolidating in here and doing nothing for the last couple of quarters. You can see those two small candles in there. So it's very important kind of how we close. I think this was a rejection from the downside. Then I'm going to go to a weekly time frame. Actually, let me go back to a month. And you can see in here, this move, it's a clear correction. And when I say clear, because I kind of gave one of the guys into our pro room, a little bit of a hard time saying that something is clear. And I said, hey, if I hear the word clear one more time, I'm going to have a a seizure or something. So it looks fairly fine, right? Let's not call it clear, but I do like it as a corrective pattern in the larger scheme of things. It looks like you're doing just a simple ABC and you're ready to rip to the upside. And if you can, zoom in a little bit at these candles, right? You had a pretty deep sell-off in here in 3 months, then we stopped, and then this next candle becomes bullish. So to me, it's important that maybe next week we're breaking that 45, maybe we can push towards 50. This candle will become a little bit more bullish, and then we can close the quarter on a bullish note, which should unleash a wave of buying towards the rest of the year. So that's kind of how I'm looking at this formation. And then kind of going back to a weekly chart, in here you can see it's a similar story. You're going up, you're pulling back, right, into this corrective move, and now you're breaking that. I mean, it's a very nice pattern in here, right? You're going in this up and down. Now, yeah, you can argue this might be a C wave, right, and then you're going to break lower, but we'll talk about that in a second. But it does look like it wants to continue to push higher on these weekly time frames. And then on the dailies, it's still a big mess if you ask me back here, but we'll take a look at the smaller time frames in there. Now, I want to take a look. Let me go back to the weekly, and I want to take a look. I'm analyzing the candlestick patterns just to kind of see how the formation looks, where the bulls are, where the bears are, and some of these important, let's say, horizontal levels as well, and kind of what the market is telling me, where the buying comes in. Moving averages, we're starting with the weekly time frame. We have passed above the 21-week moving average. That's important. That's been offering resistance. We're not fully above it, like in a solid manner, but it seems that they wanted to push it back up there. Now, the bears have a lot of reasons here to sell against this, right? You're having this big resistance, you're having the moving averages. So if they wanted to pound this price lower, this would be the place to do it and do something like that, right? And just kind of break it. For right now, the bulls are coming back strongly and trying to retest those averages. The moment you climb back above the 50-week moving average, there'll be a fresh wave of buying that should send Bitcoin above this and move it towards 55 and maybe 60,000, where you would see the 200-day moving average. This kind of rests right now at about 50, right there, 48,294. So we kind of have to get back and regain that as well. So kind of go back to the weekly, you can see the 200-week moving average. It keeps climbing. The last time we've talked was below 2,500. It was like 20,200 or something like that. Right now it's at 20,538. So this should offer, in case of any major sell-offs or of a big flush to the downside, a big support. So I'm pretty sure below these levels, 25 to 20K, there's a lot of bids sitting waiting for this market to just kind of swoop it up in case, let's say, something breaks this market to the downside. So this is kind of where I'm at in my larger time frame analysis. I'm pretty bullish on the price section. I think the failure of a move to the downside, based on kind of what I'm seeing here, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So now I'm kind of switching to the lower time frames, and let's go to a daily chart. So based on the fact that this market wasn't able to push lower with all the reasons it had, under the pressure from the equity markets, with the war in Ukraine, with the move towards a risk off, right? Bitcoin actually stayed very, very stable into these levels, and it has been climbing ever since. So to me, the fact that they weren't able to take those levels, that's a bullish sign, and it tells me that we're probably going to break above these levels. Now, you can look at this in both ways. You can look at it as a simple range between this level and this level up here, 45K, or you can look at it still as some kind of a triangle in here. We can go in an A, B, C. Let's say, you have an A, B, C, D, and E. For me, this would be a very awkward E wave, and I don't think that's the case. That's why I don't like it anymore as a triangle, because you're coming fairly high here to, let's say, a D wave. It's very rare that you're going to see an A wave, a D wave, and an E wave being all at the same level, right? So it's an A, B, C actually. So an A, a C, and an E to the same levels. I hope that's what I said. But right now we're testing the higher part of this range. And again, I think that once this breaks up here, you can start to unleash the new wave of buying that's going to send us towards the next level here, towards $50,000. And we're actually long into the pro room. We've gotten longs at about 39,800 or 39,700, something like that, and then we've added to our position at about 40,100. So we're doing pretty good. I think we have about a you know, if I'm taking 40 as an average, we have almost a 10% gain into this position. And this was, you know, we've kind of taken this position based on the fact that the market actually failed to break to the downside. And I was looking at this pattern. I kept thinking, I'm like, why is it not breaking? I think I should go long, because it seems that they, you know, they're getting tired of breaking this. It doesn't break, so they're going to probably shoot it back to the upside. And the way I was kind of counting this is that this is a wave W, and then you're looking at the wave X in here. So A, B, C, X wave right there near this wave B. And then you're looking at the Y wave in a very rare pattern in here that is basically a triangle in this A, B, C, D with a small e in here. So this creates a wave Y. So this is your wave W in here. So you go up in a wave 1, then WXY for the 2, and then this is how sometimes you break out of these, what they look for a lot of traders obvious as being a triangle, and then you're all of a sudden you're pushing higher, is because you're getting some kind of a pattern like that, either in a WXY or you're going basically into a 1, 2, 1, 2 scenario, and then you rip to the upside. Now, I don't have a lot of confidence in this move in here. It's not, very, very impulsive just yet. So I'm waiting to see if that's the case. It should have been already more impulsive. It's not. So, I have a slight degree of, let's say, of concern that this might reverse lower in here. And, as soon as I kind of see one of the swing lows get taken out from here, I'm going to move the stops to break even. And I'm probably going to just kind of get out of this trade. If we're coming back below 40, I think that, we could be in trouble. You could look at this thing as well as being, let me see if I can move this out of the way there. I don't know how to do that. But you can still look at this as being, maybe some kind of a leading diagonal that is happening at the moment. And, you kind of go like that, and then you push higher, right? So you go into 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you might get a little bit of a pullback in here before the next leg kind of pushes higher. So I'm watching this as well, because, that's one of the ways to look at something that's overlapping, right? You might think correction, but you also have to think leading diagonals when the price action acts bullish like that. So that's kind of what I'm at in this kind of smaller time frames. So just a quick look another at the daily here. So ABC correction 1, 2, and then let's see if we can get in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for a wave 1. Or as I've showed you under the triangle scenario, this is, let's say, an A. Then you go up in B, down in C, then A, triangle B in here, terminated right there, and then you're looking to push higher in C. Still, with the bullish narrative here towards 56,194, where wave D, would travel 61.8% of this B wave, because that's kind of how you calculate these into the triangles. And this would be followed, let's say, by a, by an E wave, and then for a move to the upside. So a pretty messy pattern in here, I must say. Still, Bitcoin pretty much going nowhere, still kind of sideways. And, we're trying to come up with the best interpretation here to help us and guide us to the next likely scenario. So bullish in here, still waiting for this formation to either finish off as a triangle or to show me signs that this was a flat with a push to the upside. Because if you start to break, let's say, above this 56, 57,000, I think that this move will continue much, much higher. So I'm just kind of giving you a fib retracement level. If I pull it from this highs to this lows, I'm usually looking at about 78.6, so that's about 59,000. If you're getting above those levels, very likely that you're going to continue to push. Now, let's talk a little bit about the bearish scenario as well, which I have it on here. So this is the one where, let's say, you're assuming that this was a fifth wave, right? Or maybe a wave 1, You know, if you know, you saw before what I was talking about, so either a 5 or a wave 1 top through this formation in there, and now you're looking for a break lower. So how this would happen now, you know, this could be a correction. You can have an A, B, and then down in C, and that, because, you know, there's a lot of ways. Once a correction kind of starts, you can go in an A, B, C, and be done, and then move to the upside. You can have an A, B, C, and move up here and have an X wave and then correct lower. So there's a lot of interpretation. You can, you know, you can do all kind of mental gymnastics with the Elliott wave to, you know, play with it and come up with, you know, again, many future scenarios. But I don't think that's not kind of how I look at it. I look at it one step at a time, and then we make decisions based on that. So for me, let's say that the first one would be maybe an ABC in here, and this would look like a bearish scenario. Let's say that's an impulse, and then you're looking this one as a corrective move, either being an A, you know, triangle B in here with the C wave back there, and then you're selling lower. So this would be an ABC for a second wave, or for a wave B, and then you sell to the downside. I don't think, I mean, it doesn't look like it's complete. The reason being, because if it would be complete, you would have to have, you know, this kind of start to push to the downside. The only way I would consider it, it would be if this would be a triangle, right? And it doesn't look like that C wave is strong enough just yet. So A, B, C, D, E. And you can make the triangle right there, but this does not look like a C wave. You can argue, oh, well, that's an ending diagonal. Well, I guess you could argue, because I've argued that that's a, you know, that it could be a leading. So, you know, maybe it's done and you go in this A, B with this short C wave and then sell off. Usually you're getting this C wave to get above the wave A high, create almost like a bull trap, and then sell off to the downside. And the other one is, well, okay, fine, this is a wave 1, so that means that that's a 2, and then you're looking at another 1 and maybe another 2 in here, and then sell lower. So again, a couple of scenarios that you can look at it to stay bearish if you're looking at this thing as being a bearish flag. And the moment you break below, you know, this level in here, right, it starts to get more clear that this was a correction against the trend. You're taking off this trend line, and now the bears will salivate and say, wow, you know, now I'm getting the move to the downside, and it's you know, probably going to continue to break lower. These levels in here are very important, because if they're going to get, you know, tagged again, I think this market will probably continue to break. I don't have a scenario here where this can kind of still hold. I mean, you've heard, and you can hear, you know, other Elliotticians, you know, talking about this. Well, this is a 4th wave, and, you know, you're doing a 5th wave, and only then you finish. I don't think that's the case, because this is already getting so big to connect it to this move that, you know, in my mind, this doesn't make sense. You're not going to count this as a 1, 2, 3, you know, very big 4 and a 5 like that. I don't think so. I think this kind of stands on its own merit, and it's a different structure that's got pretty much nothing to do with this move in here. It's completely separate. So it's either a wave 2, or, like I said, a wave B, or the beginning of a larger impulse. So I think I beat this one, you know, pretty good in here in terms of what comes to Bitcoin Elliott wave analysis. Guys, by the way, just so you know, in the Pro Room, I've just slashed the prices. So the price for about 2 years was about $89 to get into this Pro Room, where, you know, we do videos and analysis and cryptos and alts and all kind of things, and trading, and it's a very active room, and I've slashed it down to about $59. Okay, so you know, go ahead and take advantage of that. If you want to take a yearly, it's only $39 per month. So just doing a little plug here, and just kind of letting everybody know that I've done that. Also, you know, if you want to try it out, you know, there's like a week trial. I have to charge for it a little bit, because otherwise, you know, people don't have any skin in the game, you know, if they get a free trial. So if you think $9 is too expensive to try it out, maybe definitely is not for you. So then let's jump over and take a look at Ethereum, but I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. So now we're going to go over and take a look at some of the larger counts in Ethereum as well, because I think they Oh, and there's one thing I missed in Bitcoin, and let me just kind of quickly go back, and then I'll come back to Ethereum. But I think I wanted to take a look at the arithmetic scale too. So here is the arithmetic scale, and it's funny how much this kind of distorts how the price looks and kind of what happened prior. So, I mean, look at this 1239, and if I kind of slide the scale back, look how that looks, right? And all you have to imagine is that whatever happens now might look exactly the same way in a year or 2 years from now if Bitcoin pushes higher and moves, let's say, towards $500,000, which I think more than likely will as more adoption gets traction in there. So look at this. So now I'm sliding it back, and look what happens now, right? This thing that was huge at the time becomes just a blip on a chart, and you're moving up to 20,000, right? And these lines basically disappear. And there was a lot of volatility here as well. So now you go to 20,000, and then now look what happens next, right? You're correcting, you're thinking, hey, Bitcoin is dead, you're coming back to $4,000, $3,000, and then look what happens to the price, right? It just becomes another blip on the chart. This was a massive move at a time back in 2017, 2018, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin went to 60,000, right? So now we're here. But if this market moves from here to the upside, when I'm going to shift the scale to the left, this thing will become looking like this, and then we'll get again distorted. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I like to look log scales. It's because of wave counting and just kind of making sure we have the same proportions and just looking at everything else. But I don't dismiss the arithmetic scale. I think they're very fine, and even in here you can look as a big impulse, and this is a big correction, right? And I think we're going to continue to break to the upside. Okay, so let me jump over and take a look at Ethereum. Hopefully I can keep this below 30 minutes, but so longer time frame, just like in Bitcoin, we're looking at this as continuing to push higher, either from a triangle with an upside targets of $10,000 in Ethereum, in an A, B, C, D, and E. And don't tell me that, you want to consider this being a D wave, right? An A, B, C, D, and E, a very small D and E wave, because I don't like it. I mean, it's possible, and then you can break higher. I don't think that's the case, but maybe we're still developing this D wave and then another E just to kind of get more proportion. We have passed 100%. If you see in here, the distance traveled in the second wave, it's equal with the distance traveled in this fourth wave right there, right? This move with this move. So it's possible that maybe this fourth wave terminated right here, right? And that is, let's say, just a simple running flat formation, and you're pushing higher. But the point is, you're still going to move to the upside, even if it's a triangle or if it's a flat formation. It's just a matter of waiting a little bit more. But if you're in a position for such a thing, your stops, at least in my view, have to be below these levels. Right? That's kind of the line in the sand for a triangle. And because this looks already, so big, I don't think you're going to get a C wave of an expanded flat back there like that. I don't think that's in the cards anymore. So I'm getting a little bit technical in here, and if you're new to Elliott wave, there might be a lot of information here, but go ahead and watch it again, absorb it. And if you need help, again, come and visit us. I'm happy to kind of take you. There's a course, there is everything that can take you step by step to what Elliott wave means and kind of how you dissect it. In general, it could be a lot to swallow if you're a beginner in this Elliott wave methodology. So taking a look at Ethereum on the blue count, that looks like I'm looking, just like in Bitcoin, right? That's a running flat. Again, either as a second wave, right, or as a fourth wave in an ABC. It might be a second, guys. I mean, if this was that larger degree, this is much smaller now, and we kind of C versus A almost 100%, and if we're taking this high, we probably going to continue to push higher in this larger third. I don't know what that does for Ethereum price. Probably sends it over to, that's just kind of for kicks and giggles, I don't know, 40,000 Ethereum, 50,000, I don't know. But it is something that's definitely, not only possible, but quite probable. So let's continue to kind of watch this. This wave A low is the line in the sand. I am noticing on a smaller time frames that we're breaking this corrective move, and actually looks a little bit better. So let me jump back to, so let me go back to Ethereum, see, we're looking at a lot of alts, and although I don't talk about them every single day, you know, they are part of our coverage, and you know, when I notice stuff that's important, I talked about it with my members, and I have counts on all of these, you know, in the chart room, especially on the big ones where they kind of show us where, you know, where the larger trends are going. But you know, the alts are actually starting to look quite good now, and it seems that people are enjoying a little bit of risk. So it's interesting to see that they're taking charge, you know, a little bit faster than Bitcoin does at the moment. But let me, don't lose my train of thought, go back to Ethereum in here and take a look at the primary. So this was at the ABC for a second. I'm going to make this bigger. And then you could see, I mean, that's a much better looking impulse than Bitcoin has, with a much cleaner correction in a second. So then you can look at another one too, and maybe you can break to the upside in here. So the targets for the wave 3 would be 100% is about 3,500, and then look at about 4,500 for 161.8 multiple right there. And if you're starting to break above 78.6, which is, you know, just kind of for retracement right there at about 4K, I think Ethereum will make new all-time high. So this is kind of what I'm watching in here. And, you know, it's a very, very similar. They're still, you know, highly correlated in here, and they're still kind of moving sideways in terms of Ethereum Bitcoin cross. So if I just pull it out right here, where are you? Right there. Right, you're still in a big range, right? So let's say that you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum sold a little bit and Bitcoin got a little bit of ground. Now you can see that Ethereum pushes higher, and you know, the alts are rallying a little bit, at least from you know, what happened to this low to this high. So there's not a lot of time. I think this was when was this? March 8th. So you know, since a few weeks ago, and you're noticing that push. It looks like, you know, this pattern here might want to break to the upside. It's very, very possible. I don't like to do wave counts on Bitcoin pairs because they're way too, I think, messy, and you know, you don't get a good read on Elliott wave just because you have so much volatility, right? Bitcoin is volatile, Ethereum is volatile, so you know, what you're going to get in terms of Elliott wave counts, it's almost impossible to do. That's why I like more of a stable coin when I'm analyzing in terms of Elliott wave. But you know, it seems that we're holding, you know, the trend line in here, the channel. You're climbing back to the upside, and you know, we're still in a big range, but you know, they're moving in a pretty much in the same direction at the moment. Even in terms of performance here today, they're very, very similar. So right now Ethereum has the upper hand. There's some levels in here. If they continue to break, alts should push higher. But again, a bunch of alts I think are showing good signs. I just talked with the members a couple of days ago about the MACD line pushing into the positive territory, some stuff that we have exposure to, some things that are more interesting. So again, come and visit us if you want to talk about alts and the rest of the market in general. But I'll leave it at that, guys, and I appreciate you watching. As always, we have just passed $4,000 in subscribers on YouTube. I'm really, really proud of that, of all of you continuing to stick to this channel. Is slowly becoming, if not already, the best Elliott wave channel out there, I think. And you know, at least from the comments that I get, you know. But anyway, this looks you know, this looks pretty good. So I'm done. You know, thanks for watching again. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Come and visit us into the program if you want, and take a trial and see what we do. And I'll see you back here on Monday. We'll do more of those daily charts, the chart of the day, and then we'll talk about Ethereum and Bitcoin, you know, a couple of weeks from now again. So I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.